Jasmine was a black waitress at Mel's diner, and she had no idea that on one fateful day she would make a decision that involved standing up for Kim Kardashian. No one could have prepared her for what happened next. The evening shift at Mel's diner was always predictable for Jasmine, a 29-year-old waitress with a warm smile and a knack for making every customer feel special. Located in a quiet part of Los Angeles, Mel's was a refuge for the older locals who came in to enjoy pie and coffee while chatting about days gone by and catching up on their favorite gossip. For Jasmine, the diner was more than a job. It was a comfort zone, a place where she knew everyone by name. But tonight, that familiar rhythm was about to change. The bell above the door jingled, signaling a new customer. Jasmine glanced up casually, expecting to see a regular, but her heart skipped a beat when she saw who walked in. It was Kim Kardashian, the Kim Kardashian, one of the most famous women in the world. For a moment, Jasmine froze, unable to believe her eyes. Kim was dressed casually, wearing sunglasses and a simple jacket, clearly trying to stay under the radar. But even in her understated outfit, her presence lit up the room. The older patrons at the counter turned to look, whispering among themselves, some craning their necks to confirm if it was really her. Jasmine's pulse quickened. She had seen Kim on TV and social media countless times, but she never imagined she'd walk into her quiet little diner. Gathering her composure, she approached Kim's table with her usual friendly demeanor. "Good evening. What can I get for you tonight?" Jasmine asked, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Kim smiled warmly, her voice soft and kind. "Just a coffee black, and maybe a slice of whatever pie you've got." "Coming right up," Jasmine said, her heart racing as she walked back to the counter. She was aware of the buzz Kim's presence was causing. The regulars were murmuring, some smiling in awe, others just staring. As Jasmine placed the coffee and pie in front of her, she tried to act normal. "Here you go. Enjoy." "Thanks," Kim said, offering her another kind smile before turning her gaze out the window. Jasmine couldn't help but watch her for a moment. Despite her fame, Kim seemed calm and down to earth, even a little tired. But not everyone shared Jasmine's admiration. Earl, one of the older regulars and infamous for his blunt opinions, was already muttering at the counter. Jasmine's excitement quickly turned to unease when she saw him stand up and approach Kim's table. "Excuse me," Earl said, his gruff voice cutting through the diner chatter. "Aren't you that Kardashian woman?" Kim looked up, her expression polite but cautious. "Yes, that's me." Earl crossed his arms, his face twisted with skepticism. "I've seen you on TV, always showing off your money and fancy lifestyle. What do you actually do to help people? Or is it all just for show?" The accusation hung heavy in the air. Jasmine, who was clearing plates at the next table, froze. She glanced at Kim, who remained calm and composed. "I try to give back where I can," Kim replied evenly. "I've supported charities, helped families in need, and funded legal reforms for those who deserve a second chance." Earl scoffed. "Sounds like a PR stunt to me. You celebrities only care about your image." Murmurs spread across the diner, some customers nodding in agreement. Jasmine felt a surge of indignation. Earl's words were unfair and harsh, and she couldn't stand by while someone she admired was berated. Summoning her courage, Jasmine stepped forward. "Earl," she said, her voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside. "That's not true. Kim Kardashian has done more than most people could ever dream of. She's helped free people wrongly imprisoned, supported families who needed legal help, and funded programs to make real change." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. Earl frowned. "And you believe all that? How do you know she's not just doing it for the headlines?" "Because actions speak louder than words," Jasmine countered. "I've read about the people whose lives have changed because of her work. She doesn't have to do any of it, but she does because she cares." Kim looked at Jasmine, surprise and gratitude flickering across her face. Jasmine continued, her voice gaining strength. We live in a world where people with power don't always step up, but when someone like Kim does, it's not fair to tear them down. The diner buzzed with whispers again. Some patrons appeared moved by Jasmine's defense, while others remained skeptical. Earl huffed and returned to his seat, muttering under his breath. But the damage was done. Jasmine noticed Mr. Sullivan, the diner's owner, stepping out from the kitchen. His expression was dark. "Jasmine," he said sharply, motioning her over. She approached, her heart sinking. "What were you thinking?" he asked in a low voice. "You don't argue with customers, especially not regulars like Earl." "I wasn't arguing," she replied, her voice trembling. "I was standing up for someone who didn't deserve to be treated that way." "This is a business, not a debate club," Mr. Sullivan said, shaking his head. "Earl and the other regulars are the backbone of this place. If they're upset, we lose their loyalty. I can't have that. I think it's best if you find another job." Jasmine felt the words like a punch to the gut. "You're firing me for defending someone." "I'll give you a few days to transition," Mr. Sullivan said, his tone final. Her vision blurred as tears welled up, but she held her head high, refusing to break in front of him. She glanced at Kim, who had risen and was watching the exchange with a look of regret. "I'm sorry," Kim said quietly. "Thank you for standing up for me. You didn't have to do that, but it meant a lot." Jasmine managed a weak smile. "You're welcome." What happened next changed Jasmine's life forever. The next morning, Jasmine woke up feeling like her world was falling apart. The usual joy she felt for the day was gone, replaced by a heavy sadness. Working at Mel's diner had been more than just a job. It was a second home. She loved the regulars, the routine, and the sense of community. But now, all of it had been taken away because she stood up for what she believed was right. Still, life didn't stop. Rent was due, and bills had to be paid. Reluctantly, Jasmine decided to head back to the diner one last time to collect her final paycheck. The thought of facing Mr. Sullivan and the regulars made her stomach churn, but she had no choice. She needed the money to survive while searching for a new job. The morning air was crisp as she walked through the quiet streets of Los Angeles. The rising sun painted the city in a golden glow, but Jasmine couldn't appreciate it. Her thoughts were clouded with anxiety and disappointment. She reminded herself to keep her head high. She had nothing to be ashamed of. She had spoken the truth, even when it was hard. As she approached the diner, something unusual caught her eye. A sleek black SUV was parked right outside, its polished exterior gleaming in the sunlight. It looked completely out of place against Mel's modest facade. Jasmine hesitated, confused, before pushing open the door. Inside, the usual hum of conversation was absent. Instead, an uneasy silence filled the room. Jasmine's eyes widened as they landed on Kim Kardashian, seated casually in one of the booths. Despite her relaxed posture, Kim's presence commanded attention. Her simple jeans, sweatshirt, and baseball cap couldn't hide her star power. Behind the counter, Mr. Sullivan stood frozen, his face a mix of nerves and confusion. The regulars sat unusually quiet, their eyes flicking between Kim and Jasmine. The tension in the room was thick. "Jasmine," Kim said warmly as she stood up, her voice calm but inviting. "Can we talk?" Jasmine's heart pounded as she nodded and crossed the room. She could feel every pair of eyes on her, but for once she didn't care. She slid into the booth across from Kim, trying to steady her nerves. "I couldn't stop thinking about what happened yesterday," Kim began, her tone sincere. "You stood up for me when you didn't have to, and I can't tell you how much I respect that." Jasmine blinked, unsure of what to say. "I just thought you deserved someone to stand up for you," she said quietly. "And that's why I'm here," Kim continued, leaning forward slightly. "What you did took courage. It showed me the kind of person you are, someone who stands up for what's right, even when it's hard. That's rare, and it's something I admire deeply." Jasmine tilted her head, confusion mingling with disbelief. "I don't understand," she said. "Why are you here?" Kim smiled, her expression kind yet determined. "I'm expanding one of my initiatives, a program that helps women like you find new opportunities, whether they've faced unfair treatment or just need a second chance. I want you to join my team." Jasmine's breath caught. "Are you serious?" she whispered. "Completely," Kim said with a nod. "It's not waiting tables, but it's a chance to be part of something bigger, to use your courage and passion to help others." For a moment, Jasmine sat in stunned silence. Tears welled up in her eyes as the reality of Kim's words sank in. Losing her job had felt like the end of the world, but now she was being offered a fresh start, an opportunity beyond anything she had imagined. "I don't know what to say," Jasmine finally whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Say yes," Kim said with a warm smile. Jasmine nodded, a wide, tearful smile spreading across her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." Kim reached across the table and shook her hand, sealing the deal. Around them, the diner remained quiet, the regulars too stunned to speak. Jasmine couldn't help but glance at Earl, who sat with a mix of disbelief and begrudging respect on his face. Mr. Sullivan stood rigid behind the counter, guilt written all over his face. As Kim rose to leave, she turned to Jasmine. "Someone from my team will reach out to you today to get started. Thank you again for what you did. It meant more than you know." The bell above the door jingled as Kim left, the sound signaling the end of one chapter and the start of another. Jasmine stood, her heart light with hope. She walked to the counter to collect her final paycheck. Mr. Sullivan handed it to her with a tight jaw, his guilt clear in his expression. "I'm sorry for how I treated you," he said grudgingly. "I didn't handle it right." Jasmine met his gaze steadily. "You taught me a valuable lesson," she replied. "Sometimes standing up for what's right is worth more than keeping a job." With that, she stepped into the sunlight, ready to embrace her future. In the weeks that followed, Jasmine joined Kim's team and threw herself into work that felt meaningful and fulfilling. She helped organize outreach programs, supported women in need, and met countless people whose lives were changed by their efforts. For the first time, Jasmine felt like her voice truly mattered. Looking back, she realized losing her job at Mel's wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a life filled with purpose. That one chance encounter with Kim Kardashian had changed everything, proving that standing up for what's right can open doors to a brighter future. What do you think of Jasmine's story? Was she right to stand up for Kim, even at the cost of her job? Share your thoughts in the comments below.